This is not self-help. This is healing. Body, nervous system, wholeness. Energy medicine, Ayurveda-inspired living, herbal wisdom. Learn, heal, and be together. Wholeness isn't fixing, it's integrating. Evolve Global 22's Healing Light Studio. Understanding begins here. Healing happens here. Wholeness lives within you. Hello, everybody. Good day to everyone. This is Evolve Global 22's Healing Light Studio and our Healing Circle. And I have a special announcement for my Patreon members. You now get the Healing Circle early. You get it the morning before it airs at nighttime. So let's get right into this. We are in month 2, week 4. Do you believe it? And remember, we are focusing on the E in become emotions. Today's healing circle is about emotions as signals. What your feelings may be trying to tell you. So remember, emotion as signals. What we want to focus on today is understanding emotions as guidance rather than problems. Once again, welcome. I'm glad you're here. Today we begin week 4 of month 2 in the Become framework, where we have been focusing on the E in emotions. Over the past weeks, we've explored several important pieces of emotional life. We talked about emotional capacity, the ability to experience emotion without becoming overwhelmed by it. We talked about nervous system memory, how past experiences shape present emotional reactions. We talked about emotional triggers and how the body can react to situations that remind us of something older. We talked about emotional resilience, the ability to move through waves without losing ourselves. And we talked about emotional identity, the question of who we are becoming emotionally over time. This week, my friends, we take the next step because emotional awareness does something very important. It begins to influence the decisions we make, the boundaries we set, the opportunities we pursue, the environments we stay in, and sometimes the direction our lives take. So today we begin with something very simple. What if emotions are signals, not enemies, not inconveniences, not something to suppress, but signals that may contain important information about our lives? Many of us were not taught how to understand emotions. We were taught how to control them, or ignore them, or push through them, or dismiss them, or feel embarrassed by them. So when emotions appear, we often assume something has gone wrong. But emotions are part of how human beings process life. They respond to experience, they respond to environment, they respond to stress, they respond to meaning, they respond to loss, hope, they respond to possibility. In other words, emotions are not random, my friends. They are responses to something. Sometimes that something is clear, sometimes it's hidden. But when we begin paying attention to emotions with curiosity instead of judgment, we begin to notice patterns. And those patterns often tell us something important. They may tell us something in our life is draining us. Something in our life is misaligned. Something in our life is being ignored. Or they might tell us something in our life is changing. They might be telling us something in our life is asking for courage or inviting us to growth. Healing does not mean obeying every emotion. Healing means learning to understand emotion without being controlled by it. And when that happens, my friends, emotion can shift from chaos to guidance. As always, our learning points. Learning point number 1. Repeated emotions are often repeated signals or repeated messages. When a certain emotional experience shows up repeatedly, it is often trying to reveal something. If someone experiences occasional frustration, that is normal. But if frustration shows up every day in the same situation, that may be a signal that something deeper needs attention. If someone feels exhausted after a busy week, that makes sense. But if exhaustion is constant, the body may be signaling that the pace of life is unsustainable. If resentment keeps appearing in the same relationship, the emotion may be pointing toward a boundary that has been crossed repeatedly. Repeated emotions are often invitations to ask, what keeps happening here? What is my system trying to tell me? And what has not been addressed yet? Ignoring repeated emotional signals does not make them disappear. Often it simply makes them louder over time. Learning point number 2. Emotions often reveal misalignment. This is so important, my friends. Misalignment happens when the way we are living no longer matches what we truly need. Sometimes people stay in environments that once made sense, but no longer fit who they have become. Sometimes we stay in roles we are constantly overextending ourselves. Sometimes we carry responsibilities that belong to others. Sometimes we continue patterns that once helped us survive, but now keep us stuck. Emotions often notice misalignment before the mind does. The mind may explain things away, but the body may still feel heavy, tight, drained, resentful, or restless. Those emotions may be signals that something in life needs adjustment, not necessarily a dramatic change, but perhaps a more honest look. Learning point number 3, not every uncomfortable emotion means something is wrong. Sometimes, my friends, emotions signal misalignment, but sometimes they signal growth. Fear can appear when we try something new. Uncertainty can appear when we step into unfamiliar territory. Self-doubt can appear when we are expanding beyond what used to feel safe. Growth can be uncomfortable, but discomfort and danger are not the same thing. Part of emotional maturity is learning the difference between an emotion that warns us to stay away and an emotion that appears when we are stepping forward. That distinction takes time and self awareness. Learning point number 4, emotional awareness creates clarity. When emotions are ignored, life can feel confusing. We may feel constantly overwhelmed without understanding why. We may feel stuck without knowing what is wrong. We may feel dissatisfied but unable to explain it. Emotional awareness helps us slow down long enough to ask better questions. What am I feeling? When does this feeling appear? What situations bring it up? What does my body do when this happens? Over time, these questions begin revealing patterns, and patterns create clarity. Clarity creates options, and options create change. Learning point number 5, healing transforms emotion into guidance. When we are overwhelmed emotionally, emotions often control our behavior. We react quickly, we say things we regret, we shut down, we avoid, we escape. But when healing increases emotional steadiness, something important happens. We can feel emotion without being driven by it. That pause creates space. And inside that space, we can ask, what is the wiser response here? What does this feeling reveal? What would a healthier decision look like? Emotion then becomes information rather than chaos. That shift changes how we live. Let's talk about a real human example here. Imagine someone who constantly feels drained after spending time with certain people. At first, they assume they are simply tired, but the pattern repeats again and again. Eventually, they realize that the dynamic in those relationships requires them to constantly overfunction, explain themselves, or manage other people's emotions. The exhaustion is not random, it is information. Once that person recognizes the pattern, they can begin making different decisions, perhaps smaller boundaries, perhaps shorter interactions, perhaps different expectations. Emotion helped reveal the pattern. Awareness made change possible. Now, let's talk about this through a power of three lens. In energy medicine, emotion is energy moving through the body. When emotions are suppressed for long periods of time, the body often carries the tension. This tension can build, energy gets stuck, and then we lead to physical, emotional, or spiritual illness. Awareness allows energy to move instead of stagnate. In Ayurveda inspired living, emotional balance is connected to lifestyle rhythm, rest, nourishment, and environment. When life becomes overstimulating or imbalanced, emotions often reflect that strain. In herbal wisdom, plants have long been used to support emotional steadiness and nervous system regulation, helping people respond more calmly to life's experience. Now, as always, our five reflection journal questions. If you have not started journaling, spend one day each week for 5 or 10 minutes to start. You might reflect on these questions today or sometime this week. Number one, what emotion has been showing up repeatedly in my life recently? Number two, what situation or environment seems to trigger that emotion? Number three, what might that feeling be asking me to notice? Number four, what might greater honesty with myself be helpful right now? I'm sorry, excuse me. Where might greater honesty with myself be helpful right now? And number four, what emotion might I have been dismissing that deserves gentle attention? You do not need to solve anything or solve everything. Just noticing is powerful. Healing, my friends, does not mean eliminating emotions. Healing means becoming more able to understand them. And sometimes the emotions we once tried to silence become the very signals that help guide us toward a healthier life. Our quote of today is, emotion is not weakness. It is often the body's first language of truth. Today, we begin week 4 of month 2 in Become, and I am happy you decided to spend this time with me. If you are watching this and on my YouTube channel, you can get this first each day, each morning in Patreon. There's early access, there's support for you, there's healing sessions, meditations, daily anchors, and so much more to help guide you and support you on your journey. We are a community of people who are growing and developing ourselves, our awareness, and our own healing, health, and wellness. The link to our Patreon is in the description and in the first comment. It is only $7.99 a month. It'll be the best $7.99 you've ever spent. Join us there. Have a great day ahead, everybody. Peace, love, and light always. I love you all. I'll see you in the circle. And remember, healing lives here. Wholeness lives within you.